I mean, there's still chairs, you can grab one for you. Don't knock Abe's arm off.
She's worried about that
Good
arm.
afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad. We can't believe the turnout. This is just wonderful. And it's nice that we're gonna hear Marcia and her tell some of her memories about Georgetown. And we thank you for coming. And where is Betsy? Would you like to introduce your mom to us?
Well, Marcia Miller Lambert, 98, lived outside on the farm. Her mother passed away, well, she can tell you, but when she was 6, so she's lived in the same house all her life, so.
That's wonderful and unusual.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Marcia, you wanna go ahead then?
Okay. Well, I'm really honored that you invited me. I think I had a little pull with my daughter being on board. But anyhow, I hope I can tell you some interesting things. I'd like to go back to the 1920s, if you don't mind. I really will go back. But I grew up when Georgetown was a kinder, gentler place to live. Everybody knew everybody. Nobody locked their doors. And it was so pleasant growing up while I lived on the farm. My grandmother raised me, and thank goodness for good grandparents. Yeah, my dad's parents raised me, and my mother's parents raised my sister. So we were very fortunate, or I would have been in a nursing home, a children's home, when my dad just couldn't afford to keep a housekeeper and keep us all together. He couldn't afford that. So I was not deprived at all. I had a good life growing up, but you don't want to hear about me. We want to talk about Georgetown. Okay?
So we do wanna hear about it.
We do.
But all my favorite teachers are right there on that wall. Alice Reese was my Latin teacher in high school.
Mine too.
She was mine too.
Everybody's teacher.
Georgia Henderson, such a wonderful math teacher.
I have a painting of hers.
Oh, yes, I do too, yes. And Mary Clark, a good business teacher. And I don't see Ike Birch's picture there.
He's not, no, it's not there. This picture's not there. We don't have it.
We don't have one.
We'll get it. He's in all the yearbooks.
Well, he was another excellent voice teacher, voice coach.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have, I wonder.
But I want to talk about the history of Georgetown and how proud I am to be close by. I live out in the country, a couple miles west, but we had such good neighbors out there, still do. Norma Davis is my very dear neighbor that comes to visit me up at Autumn Fields.
And you're my very dear friend.
And has brought me oodles of good cookies.
You
All
deserve
kinds of
it.
presents. Yeah, but I want to talk about the good things that happened in Georgetown when I was little. I was born in 1925, so I go back a long ways. But in the early days here in Georgetown, we had 5 churches, more than any other little town that I know of. Westville doesn't have nearly that many, and Rich Farm, maybe Chrismond has more. But we had a Methodist church, beautiful Methodist church. If I was an engineer, I would think it was a fabulous building. The architecture there is wonderful. Beautiful church. And the Friends Church, also a church just down south. Maybe some of you remember there.
The French
Beautiful church. When I've been there as a guest with different programs, you are just amazed at the beauty of that church. It really is special. My church, the Church of Christ, that I was proud to serve on the building committee when we had it built. The Presbyterian Church, which is nearby, lovely, lovely church inside. Remember Minnie Hollingsworth?
Oh, yes.
Their minister, who was
Yeah.
very loved. She was so loved. The Catholic Church, which was very active.
Yes, and it's closing this year. St. Isaac's is closing.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Not this year.
not this year.
It'll be-
Well, I mean, they're starting.
It'll be a while.
Will be a
It
while.
will be closed.
it's not,
Okay,
it's not closing?
It will be closed, but not this year.
oh, good. I didn't know.
Well, if they're semi-controversial,
Yeah.
you better.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Or you can
sorry.
keep it.
Then we had a lovely department store, Fazio Department Store.
Yep.
And nice people to wait on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had two doctors, Dr. Black, Dr. Brookshire. We had a theater. We had a lovely little theater, and it was very inexpensive. Tickets were like $3 and $4.
And Josie was in charge. They had this lady named Josie that would always walk up and down the
Gary,
aisle. And if you were talking, she'd.
yeah, Gary,
We had a dentist, Dr. Myers. Maybe some of you were his patients. And we had a Gleitman drugstore that just carried everything you need. And we had a lovely bank. We still have a good bank. The Dukes family, do you remember? And Charlie Dukes,
Yeah.
who was in World War II and
Mhm.
has written a book about his experiences. Maybe some
We
of
have
you
the
have
book
those.
Yeah,
We have the book here.
it should be here.
Good.
Yeah. And we had the Ben Henderson Insurance Office, where you could go in and talk with your insurance person and get the answers you were looking for. He was my
What'd
first
she say?
employer. When I was in high school, he was my first employer. I typed up stuff for him. Dear family. And we had a feed mill. Do you remember Ernie Winters?
yeah.
He was in charge of the feed mill. We had livestock and we'd get our grain ground up there into the feed that we need for our animals. And we had 3 sit-down restaurants. Do you remember the Maddens?
Yes.
The Madden family
Three men.
Mhm.
and the Eller family over on the other side of town.
No.
Ellers had a sit-down restaurant. We had a pool hall. We had a billiard pool hall for
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And it was a little restaurant in there, and they made the best hot dogs. It was nice.
Coney Island,
My husband.
Yes.
Coney Island.
Yeah. And we had a plastics factory later on in the 1940s, but I worked there 7 years, so I made a lot of friends there. Oh, so many good friends. Oh,
How about the tomato factory?
Yes, yes.
Good work there.
And we had the Henry Hardware Store. The last name of the family that owned it was Henry. Helen was a daughter. You might remember Helen Henry. She doesn't live
remember
here
her.
now.
Wayne Henry. Wayne Henry was one of the boys.
Oh, okay. They
He was a
don't,
friend of Ray Terrence.
oh,
His
okay.
name was Wayne Henry. They run that store.
And we had car dealerships
3 or 4.
all over town, yeah. Yeah. Harry and, Charlie Allen were also a car dealer for the Dodge, DeSoto, Chrysler companies,
And it was McMaster's?
McMaster Chevrolet, Testes Ford.
Yes.
I worked for the Testa. I was their bookkeeper.
Oh, you were,
I think
yeah,
It was the Dodge too, I think.
yeah,
or whatever, no, yeah, after high school.
Ford for Tesla.
okay.
Wasn't there a Dodge also?
Yes. it was-
There's
Reichert,
yes.
Reichert.
Riker Dodge,
I bought my first
yeah.
car. Was the tomato company
any affiliation with the Joan of Arc that used to be in Hood
I
City?
don't think so.
Okay, I was just.
No, we raised tomatoes for the tomato factory
Mhm.
on the farm.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, 1 year.
But some closed down, what was it, why did it have to close down?
That'd be a job, I bet.
I thought you said
That'd be a
something.
job.
Why did the tomato factory have to close?
And,
I'm not sure why it did close.
Ran out of tomatoes.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
You had to sign a
Tomato
contract
factory.
to raise the tomatoes for them.
Well, they had a blight, didn't they? The tomatoes didn't do well one year.
Yes,
I
yes,
guess
they did.
that probably did the
That
closing.
probably hurt the business. Yeah.
Or maybe Hookston took
we
over.
raised tomatoes, 10 acres of tomatoes. and took
Yeah,
over.
because they had their factory.
Did?
Took in
Wow.
factory.
There was 4 of us,
Who owned
and
the
all my
tomato factory?
sisters, and we
Yes.
had Daddy gave us this
That used to be-
10 acres, and we planted tomatoes and took them to the factory.
Oh, wow.
Calais.
A whole lot of work.
It was fun. We had a good time. We were all teenagers, what the heck.
Who owned the tomato factory?
East.
Who?
East.
East,
EAST.
East, Mr. East.
They
Not
didn't,
East.
they didn't stay around then, did they?
No, they were from, that used to work Arizona or either going down south, all the way down south.
So I want to really go back, to when I was small and we had an interurban streetcar. The tracks were out
Thank you.
east. And I think it was 50 cents you paid for your ticket to go to Danville. And then you could return on the streetcar. And my grandma loved to shop. And so occasionally, not often, we'd go on the streetcar to Danville and shop at Hacker's Fair
Oh, yeah.
and Lee's Brothers, all the shops that she owned. That was a big thrill for me at the time. Oh, I was very small, and we'd ride on that streetcar. I just thought it was the most thrilling thing. We didn't have the bus service till, back in the 30s, I think. I went to a one-room schoolhouse till 5th grade.
What school, where was your school?
And that was fun, but then coming into town to the seminary building and riding a bus into town, that was also good. That was real good.
Mom, Judy asked you where was your school?
Seminary, I went to Fairview.
Yeah,
The one-room schoolhouse is no longer there.
it was down, it was by where Doyne Lenhart lives, isn't it?
Oh, yes, he's a close neighbor.
But wasn't the school right down on the corner from that?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Where the church is now?
No, the other next corner south.
Yeah. We had Roscoe Murray was one of our teachers. Linda Clifton was another one of my early teachers.
Marcia, do you know where the Frog Pond, do you remember the Frog Pond School there by Genesix, north of town?
No.
Okay, there was one,
Where
they
the
called, there was
Frog
another
Pond
name, but
School.
they called it Frog Pond.
No, I don't remember.
Genesis
Okay, it was another.
You know where Genesis lives?
But you know where Genesix lived, that road was
Genesis.
right there.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's
It
Maple
was right in
Grove
there
Road.
somewhere.
Oh, Maple Grove.
I think that's
We
Maple
used to
Grove.
go, west
Yeah,
of
it was
Georgetown.
Maple
They call it
Mm.
Concord School.
Oh, you went to Concord?
Yes. Then we came to, they closed it when I was
Down south of
finished the
Pleasant.
6th grade, then we had to come to junior high.
Yeah, yeah.
What school burned down?
No, it was.
My mom went to one in Georgetown, it burned.
A school building?
A school building, yeah.
Wayward,
That
wasn't it?
Do what?
Wayward?
Waited still.
No, the Wingard, I don't think it was burned, did it?
No.
We used to went there. I mean.
Betty, do you know where the school was?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Oh,
I'm not sure now.
One that burned.
What?
One of the schools burned. Do you know which one?
I don't.
I've never heard that.
Recently?
No.
Way back.
I was thinking there was one at the
Right,
square
it's country
at one
school.
time, maybe it was that one.
There was one.
She ended
There
up
was one at the
talking to
square.
school at a
Was that?
coal building or something, I don't know. They had to clean that up. She said one
I
day
think
she was
that was one
going
of the
to
first
school,
ones.
so one of that old school just
Wow.
burned down and it did.
I think it seems to me like the church and the school were shared. Maybe.
I don't know.
Same building.
I don't remember a school burning.
Marcia, do you know the schoolhouse that they have out at Kennecuck, it's fully intact? Do you know what, it's a one-room schoolhouse, but it's, that they moved out to Kennecuck?
Oh,
Is
no.
there any connection between your school and that school? I don't know where, I can't remember where they got that
No.
schoolhouse at.
Yeah, I can't either. I know what you're talking about.
It's out at Kennecuck, and they have the Bunker Hill
Yeah.
historic, you know, and all that, but that would give us an idea of what it was like.
They played music upstairs.
So what grade, how many grades you said?
Five.
Five, kindergarten, do they do kindergarten
They
too?
didn't.
Kindergarten. Yeah,
No, kindergarten didn't
first, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth,
Mhm.
okay.
We had a PE teacher who would take us outdoors and we'd play baseball. Yeah, Roscoe Murray. Was a teacher there.
I remember him.
Mary Helen Billilly's parents.
His daughter's my best friend.
Oh, she just said Mary
Yeah.
Ellen. Bill Deli, Mary Ellen,
Mary Helen Douglas. I'm in school with her.
sweet lady.
Heard about it.
She was just saying Roscoe Murray.
Roscoe Murray was her dad, he was the principal, yeah. And then he went on to be superintendent or assistant superintendent
I
or
think so.
something.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I wondered if any of you would have a specific question that I might not know the answer to.
Well, you've got good help there, but.
Yeah?
I have one.
Is,
It's a relay question. You were talking about the, interurban. Do you remember when they had the band concerts?
Yes, in the middle of the
Yeah.
square in Georgetown. They'd have band concerts on Saturday night.
Well, they had band concerts, we played on the square when I was in high school. We used to play, but they didn't have that big thing, they had torn that thing down in the center, but we used to play on the square when I was in high school. Earl House was a teacher.
Okay.
I remember concerts.
It was a fun night when you'd go into Georgetown and hear the band
Back in
concert.
48.
Now,
Are
Marcia,
you waving?
did they have an upstairs to that interurban that they could
Yeah.
perform on?
Oh, you mean the building?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
okay, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad said he played that up in the river, they, had a band they play on Saturday nights up there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my dad said they did.
Uh-huh.
Hear it. What's he say?
Talking about the band playing in the interurban.
Yeah.
Upstairs in the interurban.
Oh, the music would be just floating around in town. You'd hear it everywhere. It was fun.
A better time.
Yes.
And also, wasn't the fair downtown, they used to have the fair
Yes.
downtown on
The
West
Georgetown
Street.
Fair began.
Then they moved up
Yeah,
across the
yeah, it was,
highway.
yeah, it was down
Yes,
in
I remember,
The houses weren't there.
yes, I
West
remember the
Street.
Ferris wheel being in the street,
Yeah.
so it'd be level.
We had
West High School.
That was pretty cool.
Was Earl House the teacher then?
We had a sportsman's club. Many of you probably had members that were at the sportsman's club. Well, we played in the
I used to
fisherman's
play on the
field.
square
Fish
I
down there. It
graduated
was
in
good
48,
fishing.
49, so we were involved in that.
Did you
Mother.
go to dances?
Oh,
Marcia?
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you go to dances, Marcia? Where did you meet your husband? How did you meet your husband?
At a Halloween party.
Oh,
An outdoor party. Our neighbors would have outdoor gatherings, parties, and we'd have a good time, you know, meeting the Morgans, Howard Morgans. Do you know that name? He was
Yes.
Uh-huh.
in the baton
Did he
Sasquatch,
live
and he
east of
survived.
Yeah.
Was his sister Naomi?
Yes,
Okay, I
yes,
remember
they
that.
married Dave Collins.
Okay.
Yeah, the Collins family moved away, but she was their neighbor too. And the Hewitts, there were many, many Hewitts, and my husband was related to most of them. We'd have an annual reunion. Yeah, it was good times. It was simpler, more pleasant. I think there's too much violence now. It just breaks my heart that the
Yeah.
school shootings and all the violence there is. We didn't have that then. We didn't have drug problems. There weren't all the drugs offered that there are now.
We were very blessed to live in that
Really?
era.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just, that won't
More
happen.
neighborly.
And we're all
Yeah.
lucky we're all blessed to remember all these things.
Yes.
You gotta hang on to those.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about the coal mines?
Oh, we had a good coal mine community. It wasn't just a farming community. It was Butserville coal people, Peabody coal people. A lot of your ancestors might have worked in one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was a miner. They closed it at Buncersville in 1947, the year I got married.
Yeah.
And I remember Marcia getting ready for her wedding. She was down at the Lambert old house and she was painting. And I was so envious of her. I thought, oh, what a wonderful thing she can do. She can paint that house and get ready to get married. And I think she painted it green.
Oh,
That porch, do you remember the big porch?
oh, yes, yes.
Didn't you paint it green?
Yeah, yeah.
On your wedding day?
No, no, she's getting ready.
Okay. I see.
They moved in the old Lambert house.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Waltz family.
Down by the river. Down by the river.
Oh, yeah, I used to go swimming every day.
Yeah. There was a neat swimming hole.
Yes.
No, she grew up
Lambert's
in
Ford.
the country.
Lambert's Ford.
Western town.
Did you ever go there?
Well, Mother,
Yeah.
tell about all the activities at the sportsman club, when the river, didn't there used to be 4th of July?
Oh, there was a big celebration on the 4th of July with members and with guests that would come down to the sportsman's club. A ski contest.
Following that road around.
They did water skiing on the river. It wasn't just fishing. They
I
also
haven't been out there in years.
used it for recreation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did so many things for recreation back then that I don't think the kids are interested in anymore.
Because they're not mechanical.
That's the time the worms and as well. You would go straight and that takes you down to Lambert's Ford.
Every Saturday,
Yeah, I've been
city
there
of
as a kid.
Georgetown is full of people walking Saturday night.
My grandpa
They
used to
didn't
watch
have
his cars there.
television, and that's the way they saw all their friends in town. They went around like that.
It was a time for visiting.
Yeah.
We visited.
They need to start building porches again.
Yes, you're right.
And
They
Janice
always
was
had a
filling
drawing
station
on Saturday.
They did, yes.
right up there, and they had a phone.
Yes.
Janice.
Janice's.
You should have a water fountain
Janice
on
had
the
a
school
phone.
also.
So when did they put the elevator in by the railroad tracks? Do you remember that?
Oh, it was there many years ago. It has changed ownership.
Yeah, but was it there when you were young?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so it was there, it predates you.
But we delivered grain in a horse and wagon. Yeah. One of my early thrills was when I was probably 8 or 9, and my grandparents were in the threshing green. Our neighbor Henry Martin had a huge threshing machine, remember Henry Martin? And all of us smaller farmers contributed to it, and they all worked as a group. And so they would be out in the hot sun working, and my neighbor Howard Morgan, who was a bit older than I was, could drive the horse and this little buggy, and we would be the deliverers of the ice water to the workers. And I was so thrilled to be able to ride in that horse and wagon. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have such good memories of
And it sounds like you enjoyed it.
Oh, I did. I
Yeah.
always wanted to marry a farmer. My sisters went to college, got master's degrees, and I just wasn't that ambitious. I'm sorry, I just wanted to
Well, Mom,
stay
you're the
on
master
farm.
in our lives. We'll take that.
And my family was all raised in Georgetown and didn't have a burning desire to leave Georgetown and go to the big city like some of my good friends in school did. They just couldn't wait to get up to Chicago and get good jobs up there. But I don't think they were any happier. I really don't. I've been real happy just being a farm wife. Well, I worked for Ben Henderson when I was quite young, and then I was at the plastics factory. Posty Dukes, do you remember Posty Dukes?
Dukes, thank you.
One day when I was in there on business, asked me if I would be interested in trying out for a civil service job, that they were going to be needing an inspector at the plastics factory. They were making bomb parts. The early years at the plastics factory, it was, none of us knew they were to go into bombs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a pretty secretive thing back then. Not that the enemy would have attacked us, but anyhow, I tried out for this civil service job and was hired. And that's why I worked there 7 years.
Oh.
But it was a good place to work. Met so many nice people.
And George Hallett worked there, Peg Hallett's husband.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes, then went to work for GE. Peggy's was one of my dear friends.
Mm-hmm.
You made friends in high school back then that you still keep now. I'm sure most of you do.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a good environment. We had good teachers and good sportsmen, sports program.
Well, Ike Birch said you should.
His son, Speed, was his son.
Yes.
He was in my class at school. Yeah. And you asked if I went to the dances.
Yes.
I went to the school dances.
Good.
Speed was the best dancer ever. Oh my, he was just great, so graceful and knew all the steps, which I didn't, but it was fun. Yeah. We had school dances every Friday night. Back then, every Friday night, there were school dances. So we had fun and a good environment. It was, of course, chaperoned and, yeah, and I can't remember how the music, what kind of music we had. But I know we had good records. I'm sure they
records.
played records.
No, I
Yeah.
think you had bands, the school band, didn't they?
That was the question.
They
What
had
kind
bands.
of music you had?
We didn't have records.
Okay, was it our own Georgetown band that played for our
I think
dances?
so.
Did you go to the dances,
Not
Francis?
very much, cause I lived in the country and, I couldn't get in. We only
Yeah.
had one car.
So in 49, we were playing records
Oh,
at the dances. We did,
Okay.
unless it was a prom or something where you'd have a band, but other than that, we played records.
Yeah,
oh, okay, I
I
didn't.
just don't remember the kind of music we had.
Do you remember the first time you got indoor plumbing?
Yes?
Oh.
Yes.
I do.
And when was that?
What year? Do you remember what year?
What year that we got a bathroom?
Well, and just running water that you didn't have to pump.
Oh, we have outdoor well that we pumped to water our chickens and small animals. Grandma, of course, loved chickens. And every year she would order them down here from the Sandys, Felix Sandy. Does that name mean anything to you?
What name?
Felix Sandy.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
He had red hair and he had a round red face
Uh-huh.
and he was very nice, very
Oh,
good.
yes. Grandma would order 100 chickens every spring. And she would raise chickens, large rocks.
Oh, boy.
But what year did you get indoor plumbing though?
Around what year?
About what year?
How old
How
were
old
you?
were you?
Oh,
I mean, was it after you were married, before you?
after we were married,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Yeah, so we've been in the
Yeah,
night.
see, I just as soon live now than when you lived.
Well,
Agree.
On some things, yes.
people in town had indoor plumbing and appliances way before we did out in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
It would have been in the 1940s, Terry. 1940s. Because my husband helped install some of it.
Yeah.
So I had to be married. It was in the 1940s, early 1940s.
my grandma and grandfather, I can remember going to their outhouse on Stone Street. So I know, they were
cool.
around a while. I mean, there were ones around that you could dump at Halloween time.
Not that you did.
She got dirty too.
Not that I ever did that, but I remember.
The party lines, your
Oh,
telephone.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
One of them. I'm not down somewhere
That
else,
wasn't
but.
that good. I was on the party line with at least 3 of them. I did. Annie Winland, Oscar Winland were neighbors. Annie was on my parcel line.
Bertha Schwartz. Bertha Schwartz.
Yeah.
Was on your party line?
Yeah, I'd pick up the phone and she'd be.
That'd be fun.
I can't
Just
imagine.
interrupt people. If you wanted to use the phone, you waited till they were off the phone.
That was the whole one. Sometimes, if you waited a half hour, you're over then. I need to use the phone.
Their conversation, I mean, you didn't even know,
That
there was
probably
10 on our
happens.
line, 5 we could hear and 5 that we couldn't. But you could just go in and pick up the phone and 2 people would be talking and you could listen to all their conversations.
Kinda like Facebook today. Who's listening?
That they listened to all the conversations they could.
Oh, really?
Well, you know they did.
It was their
It's
time.
entertainment.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
sure.
And like she said, now we call that Facebook.
Yeah.
Who's listening to conversation?
And then someone would hang up, and then these other people, there would be like a bunch of us listening to these 2 people. And then somebody would hang up, and these people that were talking would say, oh, someone didn't like our conversation, they already hung up. There were 10 on the line.
Oh,
Wow.
We could hear 5 rings. We had 5 rings on our side. And
Wow.
then there was another side that had 5 rings, so there was 10, we lived in the country, and there was 10 people on our phone line.
Yeah.
Wow.
We only had 8 of ours.
You only had 8.
Yeah.
Vern and Herbert
Just loved to
Wendell
live
were
back then.
close, they were party Noin's parents.
I said, we didn't even get a telephone or bathroom.
You could find out a lot about your neighbors, so
Yeah.
listen, I was too really, I didn't care, but.
Yeah, man, I survived.
Still there.
We live where the police station is now. We live where the police station is, and I love to tell my students that I grew up in the IGA parking lot, and their mouths are Anyway, my dad, dug a 4-foot deep channel clear to the back of a house to put a bathroom, and so we'd get, because we had an outhouse there by the police station, and Callahan saw him do that and got him to come work for him.
Oh.
And that's how Dad got into the plumbing and heating business.
Oh, that's interesting.
Many years.
Yeah.
Callahan had a plumbing heating business.
Yes, they were across the street on the corner over there.
Mary Perrin's husband was in business with
We had a blacksmith shop too, at the north edge of Georgetown. Grandpa would take, horses to be shoed, you know, to have their horseshoes replaced. A lot of things done for the animals on the farm. We weren't big livestock farmers, so we didn't have a lot of livestock, but my husband grew up on a dairy farm, so he was used to a lot of animals.
So you didn't have to milk cows?
No, but he sure did. Well, I'm glad most of my family are in the area. My daughter-in-law, I see almost every day, which I find a huge blessing, you know? My son lives just around the block. A block in the country is several miles. And my oldest daughter is retired. He lives in Florida, and I just talk with her on the phone. And my sister also lives in Florida. They think there's no place in the world like Florida.
Yeah.
And they think I would be happy down there, but I don't believe.
Is that Joanne?
Yes.
Is she the one that lives in Florida?
Yes, she's 96.
Yeah, she's married to my cousin.
Yes, yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had two sisters, but the youngest was just a baby when, well, not just a baby, but several months old. And my aunt, my little sister, couldn't have children and asked my dad if they could adopt her when my mother died. And I know it was hard for him to give one of us up, you know, but he let Aunt Jane, who lived in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh.
So she was raised out there. She's just been back occasionally. Well, she's passed. She's no longer living. But he was, well, we weren't poor, but he couldn't afford a housekeeper to come and live with him, and he never remarried. But he just couldn't have afforded to keep us together. Just wasn't financially possible.
Because you were still so young still.
Yeah, well, I had an aunt, a well-being aunt, a well-meaning aunt, Aunt Elva, who always criticized my dad for not having a housekeeper come and watch over us and be the housekeeper. He couldn't afford that. He did the best he could.
I'm sure.
So,
A lot of families had to divide up.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
that sister.
But I've always been close to my sister, whose mother's parents raised. They lived in Lambert. So I get to see her at school, and then we'd spend weekends together. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Now, Mother La
My
Salette,
sister's married
what-
to my cousin.
talk about, like in Olivet, La
oh, the
Salette.
son, La Salette, which is Catholic, I think.
No, well, I don't
It
know.
used to be Nazarene.
It is
Yes.
now.
Yes, it was.
I remember when the Catholics bought the building,
Buildings.
it was a talk of the town, you know, because we lived just,
Very close.
you know, we lived a mile from the seminary. And, but it worked out. I mean, you know, they're still in
Yeah.
both churches.
Yeah, they have a good Nazarene church in Olivet.
She and her sisters and her mom would hide those boys from the priest in their house. You said you would hide those boys in your house from the priest,
Yeah,
so
when they had the students there were 4 girls. There was this mile block, and there was 4 of us. And the students there found out there was girls in the next block. So they would come over to our house. Well, the priest knew it, and they would kind of follow the boys. Mother would hide the boys in the closet. So that when they stopped at the house, we hadn't seen them, you know. Once a week. It was hilarious. But they were all from Chicago, Boston. They had no connection to anybody in the area. And so, we were on that mile block, and so they found out that they would come to our house.
Well, it sounds like they got to know your mother's clothes pretty well. They knew what your mother was hiding in the closet.
I was told that Mel Gibson, financed that Mausolette when they reopened it.
Oh,
Yeah, or it wouldn't have been turned back into a Catholic. Lost the money.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I was afraid what was gonna happen with it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And I've heard too that the Olivet, school that was there is the same as the Olivet College up north.
Bourbonnais.
The
I
Nazarene
graduated
College, yeah, in Kankakee,
And it's still called Olivet.
yeah.
when I would visit my sister in Olivet, I would go to church with her on Sundays, and we'd go to the building there, and it had a beautiful pipe organ and such wonderful music. Oh, goodness, I remember those days.
The churches don't use organs anymore.
Not like,
Most churches don't use an organ.
They don't even
We
use
do.
music.
Most of them don't.
And I don't know why, because I think organ music is.
Because there's nobody can play
We
'em.
don't have that kind of an opening ceremony anymore, I mean.
Well, and people don't know how to play them too.
It's a lost art.
Yeah, we had, at our church, we had Jackie Gilliland.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the Gillilands?
Well, our Celia Houghton played the organ, she did a wonderful job.
She played it.
Margie Linder. Do you remember the Linder family?
Norma,
He
Norma
was an
Hagerman,
attorney.
Yeah,
Norma Hagerman played the piano.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
she didn't come to our church though.
Who's Phyllis's mom? Or Robert's mom?
Yeah,
Huh?
that's, she did.
that's Norma Hagerman.
Yeah, Norma
Didn't she
Hagerman.
play?
The Hagerman, she didn't come to our church, did she?
Yeah, didn't she,
Well,
Norma?
maybe she did, I don't remember
She
her.
did.
Mom, who is the best looking boy in school?
That's a good one. I'm gonna put her on the spot. Her husband.
I never thought about that.
Well, there had to be one boy. Who was the boy that everybody was after it back when you were in school? Who was the most popular boy?
Oh, tell us, you know, don't you?
I don't know. Well, I probably do know, but I've forgotten.
I forgot too, and she's told me.
I know she's told us too,
Well,
but I've
Marcia,
forgotten.
when was your husband in school?
Could pull out a
He
yearbook.
was a good-looking guy.
Well, yes, I thought he was.
Yeah, let's find a, is it a 42 yearbook? Do we need to bust that out?
Yeah.
Well, we've got it probably.
Well, you always talk about Peggy Hallett and her,
George.
no, her cheerleading outfit.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the cheerleaders wore white satin. And the flag twirlers had beautiful uniforms too. I wanted to be a flag twirler so bad, but I couldn't manipulate the flags they had to do in their routines, so I gave up.
Were you a twirler?
Huh?
Were you a cheerleader or?
Boy,
Yes, I was a cheerleader too.
Yeah, the white
Purple and white, white.
Let's hear it,
Oh,
Bella.
yes, yes, Ernie Paxton.
Well, Don Rice was in my class. He was real handsome,
Oh, yes.
and he knew it.
We love to look at her yearbook because she will say, "Oh, he was the best dancer. He was the best looking. He was the most popular."
Now,
He was in my geometry class.
I can't
He
either.
was very
We
bright.
love to look at the yearbook. And she rattles all this off like it was yesterday. It just makes us crack up and so
okay,
bad.
help me out, Belva.
Mhm.
You told me that your house had a
Yeah.
piano and that Gene Hackman and Jerry Van Dyke would come to your house.
Oh, Jerry Van Dyke,
So did
yeah.
you have, you know, cause we have, you know, some celebrities in the area that was their
Oh, yes.
time,
Dick
so.
Van Dyke was from Danville.
Yeah, did he ever come down this way?
Not that
Well,
I
his
know
brother
It was
Jerry would come
WD.
to our house because we were the same age and we,
Oh,
but Dick never did, but I mean, he was older. But Jerry,
They all migrated to California.
He went to Arizona first. Jerry did, I don't know what that did, he's older than me.
Yeah.
I heard Jerry got in trouble at school.
Yeah.
He rode his motorcycle up the steps in school, ended up at the top of the school. And got thrown out.
That's a bicycle.
Something your brother would do.
Sounds like something Betsy would do. Totally.
See,
I
they
didn't go to
think our
school with
kids
him,
today
I
are
went to
bad.
Georgetown, but I knew.
Yeah.
Now, Marcia and Howard were motorcycle riders.
Yeah, tell us about that. Yeah, where'd you go on your motorcycle, Mom?
I've been clear to Oregon with Herb and Roberta, Howard's brother. And we visited her twin sister, Rena, out in Oregon. I can't remember the name of the little town. They were in a sawmill business. And we visited them and then came back home.
How long did it take to get there?
Oh, several days, because we visited other relatives in Colorado. And,
You mean like more than a week?
oh, yeah,
You went to Colorado before you went to Oregon?
uh-huh. We had quite a trip.
What year?
There wasn't the traffic then.
Oh,
We were relatively safe.
What year?
What year, Mother?
Oh,
Probably on Route 66, huh?
40s?
what year
It was
the
before you guys
motorcycle?
were all born,
They
so.
both had Harleys.
Yeah.
Matching blue Harleys.
You have that picture?
Did you see her on?
You guys have a picture?
Francis?
We do somewhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we do have pictures.
Motorcycle. The whole family of Lamberts loved motorcycles.
Yeah, I know they did. Howard came by one day and he says, "You wanna ride on the motorcycle?" And I says, "If I can take Josie with me, my sister." He says, "I didn't ask Josie, I And I didn't go, cause I was scared."
Did you feel like you needed a chaperone?
Yeah, she said she was scared.
Aw. Did you have your own motorcycle or ride behind your
Oh, I
husband?
always rode with him. No, Alberta, his sister, had her motorcycle.
If she would ride with my sister, or my sister would ride with her
But-
and Lloyd.
Oh, yes, Lloyd.
Did you take the trip before interstate highways?
Oh, of course you did.
It was
Okay,
before.
Okay, so you,
Two-lane pavement, you can.
that's why it takes so long to get there.
We were kind of off-roading.
But it was quite a challenge. Those mountains in Oregon and out west are kind of a challenge on a motorcycle.
Are they still living?
61.
Rita,
Roberta is,
Roberta's
and her
sister,
sister is still living at 100 and something.
both of them are.
Roberta's not living.
Well, she's passed.
Oh, she did?
Oh.
Or he did?
Sister,
Roberta has.
twin sister.
Oh, I know that, but her sister,
No, she's still living.
is she? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Peggy Cotter goes out there, doesn't she?
Can't anymore. Yeah. We have small family gatherings, occasionally, like, we're trying now for every Thursday night. They come and get me. I can't drive anymore. And so Peggy comes, she's related, you know.
And Peggy is married to Lambert.
Jack Kocher. Peggy married Jack Kocher.
Isn't she
Yeah.
Roberta's daughter?
She's still
Yes.
going strong.
Yes.
Yes.
She's on.
She's Roberta's daughter.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I've had an adventurous life. I wasn't gonna bring up the fact that I used to ride a motorcycle.
Oh, I'm glad someone did.
Why, there's nothing wrong with that, you enjoy life. Don't take it away, share it.
Betsy, don't you drive?
In fact, we're
Yeah,
envious.
Yes.
Yeah. Alberta's gone. Nellie's gone, the family. The Lamberts had a big family, and I was always glad of that because I had a small family. And he was one of 7. So I had lots of good relatives. Yeah. They were all gone. Nellie was the last one. Do you remember Nellie Brooks?
Yes.
She liked to work at the fair.
She was a worker, but what is she?
She and Viola Davis enjoyed.
They were best buddies, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's she talking about?
Nellie Brooks.
Oh, yeah. They used to
So-
play cards with my folks.
Do you remember that when the fair was across from where the high school?
Oh, yes, yes,
Oh, wow.
yes, that was the beginning of the
Yeah.
Georgetown Fair.
Wow.
Just go down to the square.
They'd set up the Ferris wheel and all the rides. They closed off West Street.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I remember riding on the Ferris wheel and I got sick and I said, everybody below me, I'm going to throw up. I did.
And I did.
I warned them. I couldn't sit on a swing forever. I always had that sick motion.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, my. Yeah. It moved to the Georgetown Fairgrounds after about 5 years.
It was in the park a year or two, wasn't it?
At the park.
Yeah, I remember taking exhibits down there for 4-H in the park.
To the park.
Just maybe 1 year or so.
What was that?
Was the fair ever in the Georgetown Park? Do you know?
Not that I know of.
No.
I
They
don't
moved,
think
they
it was
moved
across
up
the,
across the high school. They were
it was
across the high school.
across the street.
I mean, the old high school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Street.
Well, it has certainly grown.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I mean, a centerpiece, I think.
And we have a really great reputation. This fair is very clean and no trouble, you know. We've got a clean reputation for that with the fair.
Yeah.
And they were trying to do that.
Yeah.
And it's still that way.
Yeah.
We have a good fair.
Did
Yeah.
girls play basketball?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
The regular boys kind?
In
or-
our
No.
PE class, we played basketball.
Yeah.
But you could only go half court, right?
Half a court.
We didn't play.
You had defense players and offense players.
Really?
We didn't
My mom told me
have.
that.
Like Westfield didn't
Really?
come down or anything.
So girls had a team, but it was only a half court.
Well, it
boys-
was all, it was a traveling team, it was all gym intramural type stuff.
We had the real or